with time, looking deep, looking for Chase. He's got it, and Jamar Chase on the deep ball for the touchdown. 63 yards.
Welcome back to another Valley Sports Plug Arizona Cardinals recap for Week 5 of the 2023 NFL season. In this Sunday afternoon matchup, the Arizona Cardinals return home to host the struggling Cincinnati Bengals, each team in the hunt for their second win of the season. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the scoring broke down in this one. The Cincinnati Bengals got on the board first with a 2-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, and just a bit later, Evan McPherson booted in a 40-yard field goal, which made the score 10-0 Bengals at the end of one. The Arizona Cardinals did come with some fight in them today, answering in the second with a 25-yard touchdown pass from Joshua Dobbs to Marquise Brown, and later in the second, a 4-yard touchdown reception by Zach Ertz put the Cardinals ahead 10-14 with 8:28 left in the half. After an incredible goal line stop by the Cardinals defense, Josh Dobbs threw a pick six to Bengals Cam Taylor-Britt, Dobbs' first interception of the season. That put the Bengals back on top 17-14 at halftime. In the third quarter, the Jamar Chase show was on full display as he hauled in a 63-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow in just the first few minutes of the half. Later in the quarter, Imani DiMarcado ran in an 11-yard run for a touchdown for the Cardinals, but Matt Prater missed the extra point and made the score 24-20 Bengals on top. And in the fourth, Jamar Chase was able to pad his stats, hauling in another touchdown from Burrow, and Evan McPherson knocked in another 40-yard field goal. This made the final score in this one 34-20 Bengals. The Arizona Cardinals are now 1-4 on the young season. But I got to know what these guys saw in this one, so we'll go ahead and pass it over to Michael Benjamin for a look at some stats and his thoughts on Week 5.
When it comes to two struggling teams, we know that talent is going to outshine in these type of matchups, and it was heavily apparent today. Joshua Dobbs, he might have shown his true colors, man, going 15 for 32, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, 3 total turnovers today for Josh. He did set a franchise record of 138 passes without a pick to start with the team. That's great. But it ends in dramatic fashion with a pick six. You got to go out with a bang, am I right? But James Conner had a really good start today. 6 carries for 46 yards. Then he takes a tumble and a shot to the knee, leaving the game and the second half carries to DiMarcado. When you only have 15 completions as a whole, the numbers aren't going to jump out at you, except that Tallman's guy, Michael Wilson, only had 2 targets, coming in the last 3 minutes for only 1 reception. For the Bengals, Joe Shiesty seemed to have his legs back under him, making quick decisions all day long and keeping some plays alive. He was a tactician today. 36 of 46, 317 yards, 3 TDs, and an interception. Joe Hitz did his thing like normal with 25 carries and 81 yards. And Jamar Chase, my goodness, sets a Bengals franchise record with 15 receptions for 192 yards and 3 TDs. Guys, yep, this was the team we were expecting when we made our predictions before the season. But man, there's still some odd decisions going on. Like, think about that 4th and 1. I do like going for it, but the decision to call a QB sweep in shotgun is just crazy. I know you've lost James Conner at this point, but a shotgun sweep, you're basically asking your quarterback to go out and gain 7 yards on the ground. Like, it was a disappointing waste of the turnover and Rondale's big wildcat run. But the biggest glaring weakness from today for myself was the soft coverages and the inefficiency to make adjustments on Jamar Chase. I mean, when anyone sets a franchise record in anything, you're probably going to lose. I get that. But it didn't seem like the Cardinals looked to bracket or double him. They stuck in the soft zones, and he picked it apart. Seems odd to not try and take away a clear-cut number 1 target on the day, especially when they don't have T. Higgins. But that's all I got from this one, so I'll pass it over to Tallman for his thoughts from Week 5.
Yeah, guys, tough watch today for sure. Coming into this game, it was looking very winnable. We had a very desperate Bengals team coming to town. So it looked like one where the Cardinals, who've been showing some fight, we've been progressing every single week. So it looked like we could pull this one off. But rather than progress this week, we obviously regressed. Burrow, he picked the right week to get healthy again, right? Had to come in and just stick it to the Cardinals. But like you were saying, Mike, no answer for Jamar Chase. I mean, it's really showing the lack of experience in the secondary. And it's another week where one player basically beat you. Last week we saw it was McCaffrey. This week, Chase just absolutely whooped us, 0 adjustments. And God, the tackling in the second half was awful. Dobbs, man, lost the turnover battle, the 2 interceptions, showing us that fumble again, like he fumbled 2 times in the first week. So the regression was really coming from Dobbs, which that was tough to see, but this is just not a second half team. Let me throw some numbers at you guys. In the fourth quarter, so far this season, we've scored 7 points. Our opposing teams have scored 54 points. Let's break down just the second half as a whole. In the second half of games this season, we've scored 31 points. Our opponents have scored 78. I don't know what's going on in the locker room at halftime. We come out hot, it seems, in some of these games. Obviously, today we came out a little slow, but we woke up and we ripped off those 2 touchdowns back to back. But what's going on in the locker room during halftime? I don't know. We need to figure out what's going on. But those numbers right there are just embarrassing. I mean, I know a lot of those numbers are coming from that week 2 game against the Giants, but these guys can't finish a game. And I guess, all right, one exception. We finished the Cowboys. Fuck the Cowboys. But again, as a whole, this team just, I don't know what's going on. So we really need to tighten that up. Hopefully we can see Dobbs come back to somewhat of his form that we saw the last couple of weeks when we play against the Rams next week.
Yeah, guys, just not a lot of bright spots for the Cardinals today. It's really hard to dig in and find a silver lining and see things that might have gone well, could have gone better, but it just never really felt like the Cardinals were in this game, even when it was close, when we had a 3-point lead, when we were only down by 4. The Bengals are not as bad as their record suggests. They came in 1-3, but just a couple years ago, they were in the Super Bowl. So we know that this team is capable. Just Joe Burrow getting healthy was clearly a major factor in their success. And he did that this week, man. I think earlier in the week, he was doing pressers saying that this was a must-win game for them. I think there was some stat I heard that no team has ever started 1-4 and then gone on to win the Super Bowl. So he knew what the stakes were in this one. That being said, in the postgame, I did hear John Gannon go on and say that it was on the coaching, and it's hard not to agree. Like Michael Benjamin highlighted there, just some questionable play calling. When you're on a 4th and short, you got to take the points or at least give your guys a better shot of getting that. I just felt like that was one of the worst plays of the game. On top of that, I think James Conner just needs to be a smarter runner in general. He had already gotten the first down, had already gotten good yardage, and he decided to try and hurdle a guy through his body into the air, and that's when he came down funny. And they did say that both him and Jalen Thompson wanted to get back into the game, but Cardinals erring on the side of caution, wanting them to be here for the long term, maybe wanting to have our best opportunity to tank the season out, kept them out of the rest of this game. And shit, guys, I don't know if having Connor or Thompson in there would have changed the final result, but I just got to believe that there could have been more done in this game to give us a fighting chance. When we did put up points, it's not like we got shut out, only lost by 2 touchdowns, a lot left to be desired here, but there's more days to be had. Michael Benjamin, I do have to know, though, we're at that point where you got to tell us who is your player of the recap in week 5.
So this player was so far and above the best player on the field. So I'm going with Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase. No, guys, I'm just kidding. We're sticking with the home team. I'm going with running back Amari DiMercato, a new face who got an opportunity after James Conner gets hurt. He had 10 carries for 45 yards, had 6 touches on that first drive of the second half, including the final 3, resulting in his first career NFL touchdown. He did his job coming in after Connor the best that he could, right? Because at that point, we're already losing, so we're airing it out. He wasn't really going to be involved much after that. So I went with Amari. And remember, boys, we're digging through the mud. So Tallman, who you got this week?
Yeah, it was a tough game to find a player of the recap, but an obvious one on the defensive side. I'm going to have to give it to Kayvon Wallace. He's a Gannon guy. But he got that interception. When he got that pick, it was 24-20. I mean, it was a close game. So that interception was big. But, of course, as we know, we couldn't capitalize on that turnover. But good for him on that interception. And then also he had pretty good tackle for a loss on the goal line, which resulted in us getting 4th down stopped and getting the ball back. So Kayvon Wallace, player of the recap, week 5.
Yeah, Mike, let's be honest. Jamar Chase was the player of the game. But this is a Cardinals recap, so we got to look at who our player for the Cardinals was. And I'm going to have to go with Rondale Moore this week. He solidified himself as a solid wide receiver number 2. He had 3 receptions for 26 yards on 5 targets. I know those numbers don't quite jump out, but when you consider he also had 3 carries for 50 yards, including that incredible first play he had out of the Wildcat formation, he faked them out perfect. The defense bid on it, and he was able to take it upfield, shuffle his feet a little bit, and get some extra yards without throwing himself in the air and getting a knee injury. Imagine that. But guys, we're going to have to see if the Cardinals can keep this tank season going or if they're going to try and compete. And that'll happen next week when we travel to Los Angeles to face the Rams. Kickoff is at 1:25 p.m. Arizona time. So make sure you set your clocks and don't miss that one. And we'll be back on Monday with another Arizona Cardinals recap for you. For Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Cardinals fans, it's time to stand and bring in your